Iran has fired a barrage of missiles at central and southern Israel. At least one of them has reached central Tel Aviv. Search and rescue teams have been attending to casualties. 6 people have been reported injured. Media reports indicate there have also been strikes east of Tel Aviv and in southern Israel around Beersheba. Meanwhile, we're just hearing that the Israeli military says it's completed a large wave of strikes in Isfahan. Iranian media reporting that Israeli-US strikes hit 2 gas facilities and a pipeline just hours after President Trump announced a temporary pause in attacks on the country's power infrastructure. Local officials, however, say that operations at least one of the targeted gas sites were not affected. Earlier, air defense systems were also activated in parts of eastern Tehran. Our correspondent, James Waterhouse, is in Tel Aviv, where cleanup efforts are underway at the scene of the missile strike from Iran.
Well, the clear-up operation is gathering apace. We've just seen street sweepers make their way down to clear up the endless shards of glass caused by the force of the blast. You might be able to see the site behind me. There is a very deep crater where we're told by officials an Iranian missile slammed into the side of this building with 100 kilos of explosives in its warhead. This was part of a wider aerial attack by Iran overnight. We're in quite a residential suburb of Tel Aviv, which has been on the receiving end, really, of Iran's responses in this ongoing war. Israel's air defences are relatively effective. You get early detections on your phone, you'll hear the explosions as they're taken out in midair. But as you can see, not all missiles can be stopped. I think this reflects the stockpiles that Iran still has. It also reflects the willingness of Tehran to hit back where it can. It's difficult to gauge to what extent this suppresses people's appetite for this war to continue. Benjamin Netanyahu is being crystal, saying that he will continue to hit Iran, he will continue to hit Iran-backed Hezbollah, the militant group in southern Lebanon. And so I don't think we're going to see much change there. There's a big post around the corner urging President Trump to finish the job, in quotes, in relation to the war against Iran. So I think for people living here and other parts of across Israel, I think these kind of responses from Iran will continue because Israel certainly is going to keep pursuing its own military objectives.
James, we saw other strikes get through over the weekend, hitting different parts of Israel. What do you know about the impact of the strikes that have actually managed to get through from Iran?
Yeah, it's very difficult to kind of gauge just to what extent the impact is. I mean, we've seen over the past few days falling shrapnel. It's here in Tel Aviv, also in Jerusalem. We saw a warhead come down close to the Al-Aqsa Mosque a few days ago. We've also seen Iran launch missiles at Iraqi Kurds in northern Iraq. And so clearly, I think where there is mirroring, it's not symmetrical, but we're seeing Israel try to maintain its offensives on several fronts. But we're also seeing Iran looking to strike, not just respond to Israel, but it's also trying to target allies of the US in the Gulf states, for example, to apply economic pressure, not least with how it's controlling the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most important shipping lane. So this war remains limited in the sense that it's down to aerial bombardments for now, but it's being fought over an incredibly large geographical area.
James Waterhouse in Tel Aviv. As we mentioned, Iranian media say strikes have targeted 2 of its gas facilities and a pipeline hours after President Trump said he would halt attacks on the country's power infrastructure. Let's get more now on the latest from the region with our correspondent Azadeh Moshiri, who's in Dubai for us. Azadeh, first of all, what are we hearing from Iran?
So those claims haven't been verified yet. They're coming from Fars news agency, which is an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps affiliated news agency. They do quote some local officials in there as well. What they're claiming is that there have been attacks on energy infrastructure, but that there hasn't been any significant damage, that they didn't reach their targets. That's unclear. We haven't been able to verify that yet. But it does come off of the back of Donald Trump, the United States, walking back its deadline that was due to end last night urging Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which they have a chokehold on right now. And in exchange, the United States would not carry out a threat to target power plants in Iran. Now, we don't really know what's happening. There are a lot of questions right now because there have been conflicting reports about whether the United States and Iran are actually having direct talks, whether these sort of preparatory discussions will actually lead to real meaningful talks. Either way, Donald Trump has said that there's a 5-day pause on his threat while some of these discussions move forward. There are also several countries, players that are supposedly involved in this, countries like Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt. Here in the Gulf, leaders will be watching very anxiously because part of the issue is this war has not ended. They are still receiving attacks. Here in the UAE, the government, the Ministry of Defense has confirmed that they have been responding to 5 ballistic missiles and a number of drones. Kuwait has had power outages this morning because debris from an intercepted attack hit some power lines. Bahrain had to have emergency crews battle a fire after a commercial building was supposedly struck. We don't know if that was from debris or a direct hit. Saudi Arabia as well has been dealing with these attacks as well. So it's not over. And the Gulf will also want to ensure that whatever discussions do take place will take into account the fact that there's a new regional reality now when it comes to security. They've realized Iran is willing to use its bank of missiles and drones extensively against them. And so regional power plays, dynamics, all of that is about to change. And this is an extremely unpredictable situation.
As they mentioned there, fresh attacks in the UAE where you are. Has the pace of the Iranian retaliatory attacks slowed in recent days, and what impacts have they had on the economies in the Gulf?
It goes up and down. I don't want to say that it slowed because I remember last weekend there was a period where we were noticing there were far fewer drones and ballistic missiles headed our way in the UAE, and then suddenly it picked up quickly again. The fact is even though there aren't any renewed attacks on energy infrastructure, there are multiple oil and gas facilities that have been hit. The UAE says that that's from debris and that they're intercepting most of those attacks, but it's really hard to get information here. There's a real grip on it. It's illegal to film any damage or any incoming attacks or interceptions even. So that information is really hard to verify. Qatar, of course, has seen extensive damage at a major liquefied natural gas field, and they have already said that over the next 5 years they're going to see their export capacity down 17%. That's going to cost them $20 billion annually. So damage has been done. There's no going back from that, and it's going to take Qatar years to rebuild some of the damage that it's seen there. Here in the UAE, we've seen airspace closed on and off, though that's calmed down recently. There haven't been any attacks or damage on the airport in the last few days, but it's clear that the region does already have consequences that it can't come back from. Also, just a renewed understanding of Iran as a threat. Here in the UAE, they said that they weren't surprised that Iran had targeted them or any other countries that hosted US military bases, but they were very surprised by the extent of it. And so whatever does come in a post-war era, if the regime does survive, they are going to be thinking of their security arrangements very differently.
Azadeh, thank you. That's our correspondent Azadeh Mashiri in Dubai there. Meanwhile, Lebanon has expelled Iran's ambassador, withdrawing his accreditation and ordering him to leave the country by Sunday. Lebanon has declared him an undesirable person. Meanwhile, Lebanese media reporting that overnight Israeli planes carried out 7 strikes on the southern suburbs of Beirut, and this morning the Israeli military told residents in the south to evacuate as it prepared to target more Hezbollah infrastructure. Our correspondent Lina Sinjab has the latest from Beirut.
There was an announcement earlier with evacuation order to several locations in Har Tahrik, Erbeiri and other locations. These are becoming recurrent targets of Hezbollah of the Israeli airstrikes in Dahieh neighbourhood, which is a Hezbollah stronghold in the south of Beirut. It hasn't been, cleared which, if there are specific targets, because there was an evacuation order. In the past, there was these orders targeting targeted financial institutions for Hezbollah, like Al-Qard al-Hassan, the banking system for the group. But for this time, it's really not clear what infrastructure or what buildings, why they were targeted. But in the south, the airstrikes are intensified in the south of Beirut, especially around the south of Litani River. There is a systematic way that the Israelis are targeting infrastructure, bridges, fuel station, in an attempt that what people are saying, this is a depopulation effort to get all the residents from the south of Litani leaving area and expand the buffer zone for the Israelis with their ground invasion of South Lebanon. This is something that is really worrying many residents, worrying the hundreds of thousands who've had to flee their homes and villages and towns, that they won't be able to go back anytime soon, and not clear what's the next step for the Israelis in this expansion technique that they are carrying out.
Lena, we've heard the US talk about reaching some kind of ceasefire in Iran. Are there any conversations about a ceasefire in Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah?
Well, this is the issue. I mean, the Israeli side is clear. They made it clear earlier in the war, and even 2 days ago with the chief of staff of IDF saying that they are prepared for a prolonged operation, even if the war in Iran is stopped. The war on Hezbollah is continuing until they reach their target. Their target is eliminating Hezbollah's power and eliminating any threat coming from Hezbollah towards the north of Israel. But with these kind of approach or this target for the Israelis, civilians are caught. Thousands of civilians, hundreds of thousands have lost their homes. Israel is, flattening villages in the south of Lebanon. They've ordered to destroy homes in many villages. So really, I mean, the aim for them is to eliminate any threat from Hezbollah. The ordinary citizens are the ones paying the price. On the other hand, Hezbollah is also continuing in firing rockets into Israel, saying that they will continue fighting till the end. They know that this is a survival battle for them, especially that they've lost they don't have any support from the government, they've lost support from the people, and they have to fight with Iran, a country that supported them, trained them and funded them for decades.
That was the BBC's Lina Sinjab. Meanwhile, Qatar's foreign ministry has been holding a press conference to discuss the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Our security correspondent Frank Gardner was there for us. We'll bring you that very shortly here on BBC News. But first, let's take a break. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.